Hello and welcome to Love Talk. And today we have a completely different show for you because we have a panel here with us, and I'll introduce them to you in just a moment. But we're going to be talking today about when families interfere in relationships. Mom, dad.
Cousins, friends, BFFs, you name it.
Exactly. What happens when they interfere and what the outcome of that really is. I have a few people here. Actually, we have two couples here. We have a married couple, Michael and...
Yeah, raise your hands.
Charlene. And we have also another couple. They've been on the show before. This was James, who didn't know what he was going to do for Valentine's Day at that time.
Yep, I do remember.
But you actually did something that day?
Yeah, we did, and we went to Alton Towers for the day. So we just literally, well, she let her hair down, and yeah, we just had fun. It was really nice, really nice.
Good. So what we want to find out really is this. I mean, we know that in relationships, when people from outside interfere, is a problem. It causes problems, and we want to find out from you if you have experienced this, right? Mm-hmm. And the problems you've had in the past by people interfering, wanting to butt into your relationship. Who wants to go first?
Who has been a victim, if we can say so?
So we have
someone
Lisa.
interfering.
Hello. Hi, Lisa.
I have been a victim, actually, and it was with my ex-mother-in-law, hence the word ex.
Oh, right.
Basically, even when we were dating, I realised that the family was really, a huge part of my ex's life. But after we got married, his mum was still calling to see if he'd eaten. If we stayed over, she would still insist on changing the bed covers. The weekends would always be with the family, and if we decided not to, then she would be upset. And it got to a point where I decided just not to go around anymore. And then that's really when the marriage broke down.
So you there was a divorce not just from him but from her as well?
Yeah, she really did.
So she divorced you then as well?
She did.
I mean, he divorced her maybe.
Yes.
Sounds like you was married to that family, not just him.
Yeah.
It sounds like, they came as a package.
Yeah. But the problem with this is that one of the main problems is that if you have to start telling your problems in your relationship to someone and the person asks if your husband's eaten and so on, it's like you are exposing something which is just yours. It's supposed to be just yours, right?
Yes, and also you think like, you were being watched. Mm-hmm. Every move is like, oh, where are you going on holiday? What are you doing? What are you feeding my husband? What is he eating? Mm-hmm. It's like,
Plus, did you feel like you were competing with her?
I ended up being more like a mum to him rather than a wife, and he was so used to that motherly love that he was quite happy with it. Mm-hmm. So it was quite tiring as well, because I wasn't actually a wife. I was more like a mum to him.
Mm-hmm. So Charlene, yes. You're married to Mr. Reed, Michael Reed, sitting there at the front. You've been married for how long?
Just over 4 years.
4 years.
It was 4 years in December.
So I imagine because you're married for not too long, there's once in a while there's little problems you have to solve, right?
Yes, definitely. As with every marriage, there's no perfect marriage. Mm-hmm. And I think especially in the beginning, the first couple of years, perhaps, there's teething problems, for the want of a better term. Mm-hmm. You're still trying to get to know the person. Mm-hmm. He's still trying to get to know me. I'm still trying to get to know him. There's little habits, things that the other person doesn't like. And those things, as much as you would like them to be resolved, like in a day or in a week, it doesn't always work that way.
Did you ever try, or did you ever have to ask help from family members in like an intervention meeting? Anything like that ever happened?
Sorry, I've just got this idea of everybody in the family just all sitting around discussing Michael. No.
but that happens, yeah. That happens in
yeah, I've heard of that, but no, nothing ever like that. I think, me personally, I try to be quite a private person. Mm-hmm. So if I did need any advice, I would always go to another married woman. Mm-hmm. An experienced married woman, someone that's been married for a lot longer than I have, because I know that those teething problems that I'm experiencing, she's been through them.
Right.
Been through them, got the book, the T-shirt, the mug, everything. So I know that I can go to her and, she's going to have the answer. And
sorry to cut in on you, because for me, what I usually talk to people about these instances of having to seek advice is that you need to be careful that you're not exposing something that it's sacred to you and to your husband.
Definitely.
So that wasn't that case. You were just little things that you wanted to learn how to improve. Was that the case?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. There were times that, out of sheer frustration, I didn't always go about it the right way.
Right.
I'm being totally honest. But now I know that there is a right and a wrong way to seek advice, how to word things without putting my husband down, without making him sound or appear to be horrible. Because the thing is if I paint him in a bad light to others, people are always going to look at him in that way. Even if he changes later on, they're always going to, Matt Michael.
So you've managed now, you've learned to solve things. Maybe I can hear from Michael now. 'Cause you've managed to learn to solve things by yourself now.
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing wrong with seeking advice. Because when the topic came up about interfering, I know that I have a very large family, and I'm lucky enough to have, an older sister who's married. My mum's been married for 18, 19, 20, about 20 years. So I do seek advice from them, from family members, because I believe those are people that I can trust to give me good advice. But in terms of interfering, they don't really interfere. I don't see that from them. I wouldn't say that. I should have to ask Charlene better than me to interfere. But I'm just really lucky that I have good advice. And part of the good advice is exactly what Charlene was talking about. I was always told not to paint Charlene in a bad light to anybody. If you're speaking about a problem that happens, you may solve that problem with your spouse later on, but that person that you complained to about your spouse
will always have that image.
Will always have that image of them. And I never wanted anyone to have a bad image of Charlene. So we learned that. So I can really say we didn't have any interference, but we just had good advice.
Good. But there's a difference, Elena, between advice and interference. Actually, advice is usually requested. Usually you ask for advice. And when someone interferes, you didn't ask them to interfere, right?
Yes, and usually those, parents, I think it comes natural to many of them. It's to always try to find out what's going on, especially in the first years of marriage. Or, is everything okay? Of course, there's those that are a bit more, what's the word? Obsessed with the son or the daughter, usually with the son. Forgive me, boys. And it's like, are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Is everything okay? Do you have enough money?
But the question has to be, for example, maybe I can ask Sandra. Sandra, if there is interference, who has to be the person to cut that interference?
I believe it's the woman has to cut off, and the husband or the partner has to cut it off. Because actually, my family, there's a cousin of mine that his wife's mum, he was practically married to her as well. Everything that happened in the house, she knew about it. That's why the marriage today, they divorced. They're no longer together because she was involved in everything. Every little thing that was taking place in the house, she knew about it. The wife would always call the mum. So in that case, it was her. She had to cut it off in order to save her marriage.
That's the question, because Elena, for example, if your family is interfering in our marriage, then it has to be you cutting that tie, right?
That's right.
If my family is interfering in the marriage, and it has to be me, then otherwise it will be seen like I don't want to get on with your family and so on.
Yes, so leave us alone. We don't want you to be any close to us.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we're talking about mom and dad. But there's a lot of cases. This happens with best friends. Ladies, we like to go out for a coffee, and then sometimes you like to talk. We talk a bit too much, a lot, and sometimes things slip, and then this is not good.
The thing is that, for example, you have a BFF, like Elena said, a best friend, but that best friend has another best friend,
who has another one.
Exactly, and sooner or later, it's like the problems that were once between both of you are now spread all over your family, and that's not good.
you were speaking about best friends, and my experience with best friends, I mean, I used to have friends that were very jealous of me. So if you say one negative thing about your relationship, they'll say to you, oh, get rid of him, he's no good, when that is not the case. They just want you to be alone if they're alone, and things like this. So often people can really interfere and, you know, say spiteful things just because they want you to be in the same position as they are. So when it comes to best friends, it's better not to say anything.
And actually, you were saying you had a very traumatic experience in the previous relationship where someone sort of gave you an advice that wasn't really the right advice, right?
Yeah, when I was very young, I was only about 17, I was in a very, very abusive relationship. I mean, very abusive. And I was pregnant, and my boyfriend beat me up, and I was covered in bruises. And so I went to see the social worker, and they put me in a refuge. And my mum came to the refuge, and she said, oh, no, you can't stay here. She said, you made your bed, you have to lie on it, you have to go back to him. But when I look back now, she was so worried about the actual culture, you know, the image. Oh, what am I going to say to my friends, to my, you know, relatives? You know, my daughter's left the man and she's pregnant. No, she has to stay with him. Even if he kills her, at least she's with him. You know, it was that sort of situation. It wasn't good advice. But when you're 17 and you're very naive, you really believe that what your mother's saying is the right thing. So I went back to him and I got beaten again and again.
So even though your life was at risk, right?
Yeah.
That was a sort of interference, because although she was giving you an advice, she was giving you an advice for the wrong reasons. She wasn't looking really at your safety, but at the image of the family.
You see that many times. It's also a matter of culture, isn't it? It's a cultural thing. It's not just the friend or the mother wanting to know what's going on. It's a lot to do with, you know, let's call the oldest people of the family, let's talk this situation over.
I think in different cultures, people get more involved or less involved. But the thing is, especially if you're close to your family, there is a natural tendency for someone to want to butt in, right? You may be in a culture where this doesn't happen that much, but like I said, if you're close to your family, it's a natural thing. They want to make sure that you're okay, and that sometimes becomes a nuisance. We're going to go into a break now. When we come back, we're going to hear from someone who's in the studio, a couple that's dating. You've seen them before, James and Desreen, and they'll give you their perspective as when you're dating. And also you'll see when myself and Elena, we went to do a filming on a day out at the beach. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are on the controversial topic of people, family members interfering in your marriage, in your relationship. And actually during the break, we started having a little heated debate here, because some people were saying it's completely wrong for them to interfere, and then Michael said unless they see you doing something wrong and they want to help. But it depends, because Desreen, you'll be getting married soon.
Yes.
To this young man who's here sitting in front of you. And imagine you're doing a steak for him for dinner, but his mom, who came over for dinner, sees that you're not doing the steak the way he wants. Would you want her to correct you? Would you want her to interfere and tell you do it this way or not?
I think it depends on how she does it. Because she can come and give good advice, like, you know, he likes it like this. Why don't you try it like this, kind of thing, to help? But then there's a difference for you to say, that's not right, you done it wrong, he's not going to like it, kind of thing. So I think even with parents, it would be nice to have a mother that would like to help, not to make you feel like you're not doing correctly with his son. Do you know what I mean? Sorry. But do you know
So
what I mean?
you don't want someone to make you feel inadequate.
Yeah, because I think as like a couple, and you're trying to please your husband when you first got together, and you're trying to do your best, you're trying to look after him, trying to care for him, and then someone's there saying the opposite of what you're doing is wrong and things like that. It's kind of difficult, because you feel as though you're trying to build your house with him and someone's kind of pulling it down, although you're trying to.
And actually, you know, Elena, when in the beginning of the marriage or the relationship, when you try to do something, didn't really go that well, but then you can, both of you can laugh about it, and it becomes a good story for the future. You don't really want someone to spoil those moments for you, right?
Yeah, I'm so glad your mom wasn't. I'm so glad. My family, they don't do that, because I don't let them. But they didn't hear that. But I'm so glad we didn't have to, put up with that. But yeah, it's true. I mean, it's already a situation where you're learning to look after your husband, and then you feel a bit insecure. I speak for myself in the beginning. I don't know how to cook very well, like his mom, because, and then she comes over and criticizes, it's too salty, it's too this, too that. It's a
And then you
bit.
start feeling like everything you're doing is wrong. So when you have there's people trying to help, but then there's interference when you're trying to do your part, and then people have their says. It can kick you down sometimes, because when you're learning, you're trying to build that confidence, and when you're trying to build something, you're kind of getting.
So
put down
what
by
would
it.
you tell your future mother-in-law if she comes over? And I'm sure she will say it nicely, because you get along well, isn't it?
Yeah,
But imagine if she was like, difficult to deal with. What would be your
I would
Your
And be
advice.
careful, because that's a dangerous question, right?
I would.
She
I
might
would-
be watching.
For the mother of James, I would always give ears to what they have to say. I would always, like, even if it is in a bad way or a good way, then after I'd speak to James about it, and then I'd
And he
probably
would do the dirty work.
Yeah, basically he'd do the dirty work. I don't want to do the dirty
Right,
work,
so we
because sometimes
understand.
they don't see it like that. Sometimes they just see it as them caring for their son, making sure everything's fine. Although to us it seems like they're just trying to mess it up.
James, you're very quiet there. What's happening? do you now that you're engaged, right, and you're about to get married soon, have you had a lot of people wanting to interfere, to give you advice, do this, don't do that, from your family?
My parents are there. They are there, and though some people may look at it and see that they're interfering, I can see that they're just trying to be positive. They're really trying to be helpful. My mum, it may seem like she's overpowering sometimes with her advice and ideas, but I can see she
just
sees
excited,
She's
isn't it?
excited. She's excited. I'm getting married. It's her first son. I'm the first one to get married. With her kids and stuff. So she really wants to give her all. So I think if she has that same energy when we get married and tries to bring that into my household, then it will be a problem.
Right.
So I will let her sort of have her fun with the wedding, but when we get married, I don't really want to see her too much, if I be honest.
So Mom, you've heard that, right? We have Lisa raising her hand there. Go ahead, Lisa.
I was actually thinking, I don't think the right way to do it is once you're married. I think you need to put those limits before you get married, because if you allow a person to do something up until a certain point and interfere, to then change that is quite misleading. So I think it's important that you allow people to be part of that special day, be part of your life, but make it clear from now that actually there's this and this that isn't really any of your business, in the nicest way possible.
Yeah.
Like if she doesn't like the flowers that were chosen, last word will come from the bride.
And I think that, for example, if a couple does things the right way, the thing is this. Of course, if my family sees me arguing with my wife all the time, of course they will want to interfere.
They will want to know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have a problem and you try to solve that problem indoors, both of you, and that's it, and it doesn't leave your house, there's no need. I don't think your family will ever want to interfere, right? So the thing is, like Lisa said, it has to start from the beginning. And I don't even think you will ever have to say to your family, it's none of your business, because actually it is none of their business, but that's something quite harsh to hear. But when you have you do things right from the beginning to solve the problems internally and so on, I don't think that the family will really want to interfere, because there's no need to. Tell me,
I think
Michael.
exactly what you're saying to begin with, Pastor, there's advice and interference. I think it's we that allow it to become interference. Because, for instance, we're talking about a wedding day, as James was saying, he allowed his mum to have fun on the wedding day. And when he said that, I was thinking to myself, this is one of the most special days, especially for a young woman. They dream about their wedding day and how they want it, and they...
Did it matter to you when you got married? Did it really matter to you what?
To me personally, yeah.
Did it matter to you the way the hall was going to look?
Yes, everything.
To
I was
me,
hands-on.
That didn't matter at all.
To me
At all.
neither.
Yeah.
It's just
We had a family meeting.
Or you had an intervention.
Not an intervention, because when we was planning the wedding, obviously, we was we received financial help, received help from our family, and we received advice as well. But at the end of the day, what we decided was our decision. If we wanted the hall to be black flowers with black and red faces, it would have been that way if that's what we wanted. What we wanted was going to happen on the day.
Right.
And our family was more than welcome to give the advice, more than welcome to give, tips, because they've been married, they knew what it took. But the final say was us. And I would always give that same advice to any other young couple. You know, it's advice. When you see things that you're doing that you know that couple may regret later on, it's within you to try to advise that person. Nobody wants to see somebody make a mistake that they made.
So advice is good, interference is bad.
Yeah, and like I said, I believe interference is, we allow it to become interference because you can only advise somebody and then it's up to them if they take it or not.
Ashton, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I did want to say something really. I wanted to stick up for the mothers-in-law because we've kind of painted a very black picture, and I'm actually a mother-in-law twice, so I have 2 children that are married, and in all that time, none of them have ever said to me, don't interfere. I mean, I don't basically interfere because I don't see it as my business, but what I'm trying to say is there are some decent mother-in-laws out there.
They are indeed.
Yeah, we believe you. We believe you.
No,
I've got one, so I believe you.
Thank you for saying that. And we're not saying, like I said, we're not saying about the mother-in-laws, but the families in general. That sometimes they do try to interfere. Well, we wanted to show you what you can do. Sometimes couples complain, oh, I don't have any money to go out. What can I do without any money? And we're going to be showing over this next couple of programs what you can do without a lot of money if you want to spend some quality time with your partner. And we went to the beach. We didn't go there to spend a day out. We went there to film. So we went there quickly and came back. But this is something you can do. So have a look what you can do if you have an afternoon off here in the UK. Right, we're here in Sheerness in the Isle of Sheppey, and we wanted to give you an example of what you could do with your partner on a budget. As long as you can get here, you won't need to spend much money. You have the scenery to enjoy, maybe walk, spend some time talking about things that are important to both of you, and just enjoying each other's company, right?
Yes, and you can't wait for you to have a good weather. You can't. The weather cannot be an excuse. It's always good for you to go out, even if it's for a walk. Chat a little bit, take some time just for you to, catch up. It's very, very important.
And even though the weather is quite cold and chilly, what matters is that you are with the person that you love, and that should be the most important thing. We hope you enjoy the images that you're going to see. So we just stopped right outside where we were filming in the beach a few moments ago in a traditional restaurant to have some fish and chips. And it's been a really nice afternoon out, and it's something you can do with your partner, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we did here today. Okay, back to the studio. Well, you just saw us there in a place that there wasn't much to do physically, but it was just nice to spend time together.
The weather wasn't that great, but
that's
what
right.
counts is quality time together.
That's it. And James, you just wanted to say something before we finish?
Yeah, I 100% agree with Michael Reed. I thought his comment was very true. Let them get involved, but don't let them be the final say in anything you do.
So draw a line between advice and interference.
That's it.
So I wanted to thank all our panel for being here with us today. And, it's important, like we said earlier, that from the beginning of a relationship, you have a healthy relationship also with the family of the person that you will eventually get married. That relationship has to be there. However, it's very important that you deal with any problems you have, any things you may be going through between both of you. Because when those problems are exposed, people sometimes feel they have the right to help you fix those things.
And if you have any problems, more serious problems in your marriage, where you need like medical advice or any professionals' advice, then go to them. Because if you go to your friend, if you go to your cousin, to your mother, then it's like you are exposing your spouse's weakness.
Exactly. And remember, if you do what Elena said, you go to a professional to seek help, then you're going to a person who will be unbiased to any of you, and that's important. And I just want to finish saying something really important. Your family, from the moment you get married, from the moment you have a solid relationship, your family is you, your partner, and your children. And everyone else around becomes your relatives, and they are extremely important, and they should be a part of your life. However, the problems that you may be going through and learning how to solve them on your own is an important part of making your marriage stronger and healthier. Remember, the key words are on your own. If you can't solve them on your own, then seek for advice from someone who will be unbiased and can indeed advise you. Okay? But if you can, always try to solve things between both of you. That will make your marriage stronger and better. Okay? Thank you for joining us. Until next time, have a wonderful night.